Hey Scribblers, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Gountanis, mystery writer, helping you on your writing journey. I release writing videos every week, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. Alright, in today's video I talk about how to start an author newsletter. Let's get to it. Now, sending out an author newsletter to people on your mailing list is a great way to market directly to your readers. It's a great way to build a tribe of organic readers, and authors should definitely have a newsletter and should be taking advantage of that marketing opportunity, because unlike with social media, where there's a lot of algorithms at play and all the various platforms can change their algorithms at a moment's notice and you could lose a bunch of followers or subscribers. With the mailing list, you own that mailing list. You can market directly to them, and that's very powerful when you are trying to build your author brand and to release more and more books. Now, there are a bunch of email marketing platforms out there. There's Mailchimp, Aweber, MailerLite, and there's a bunch of other ones. Mailchimp is one of the bigger ones and the most popular, and in this video, I'm going to show you a demo using Mailchimp. That's the provider that I use. Mailchimp currently, as of the time I'm making this video, the free plan is up to 2,000 people on your list and up to 10,000 emails a month. And then as you go up each tier, there's more and more features and capacity. But for the majority of writers out there, at least those starting out, the free plan is more than enough and allows, a lot of features that would be beneficial to your author brand. So I'm going to show you my screen, and we're going to talk about how to start your very first author newsletter. Let's get to it. In the main interface of Mailchimp, I just logged in. If this is the first time you're setting up your Mailchimp account, there are going to be some other steps before you get to this main screen. Primarily, Mailchimp is going to ask you for the name of your audience, and audience for Mailchimp basically is synonymous with list. So whatever you want to name your mailing list, put that as your audience name. So for example, if you're a mystery writer and you want that list to be all about your mystery books, you could call it mystery books or something like that to make it easy for you to, track it and to keep tabs on it. The other thing that Mailchimp will ask is for an address, and that is for the various laws that are in place regarding mail marketing. You need to have a valid address that is on every email that goes out, and people can subscribe and unsubscribe to your list. That's something that is also required by law. They can't be forced into joining your list, or they can't be forced into staying on your list. There's a whole bunch of different laws regarding that. But point being, for your address, if you don't want your personal home address to appear on all of your mailings that go out, then I would suggest that you either have like a PO box or maybe a virtual address, because you probably do not want to be sending out a bunch of emails and people can see where you live. That I know that is a matter of personal preference. Some people don't really care, but I think the vast majority probably want to keep at least some bit of privacy when they send some of these things out. So set everything up, use a PO box or a virtual address if you have one, and then once you go through those preliminary steps, you will reach this main interface. So what we're going to do in this video is we are going to set up a simple newsletter, and I'm going to walk you through how to do that, and then in future videos I'll talk about how to set up like a welcome email to your subscribers, as well as how to do a sign-up form that you can then use on your website. But for today's video, let's just talk about how to start an author newsletter. So the way you do that in Mailchimp is you have to create what's called a new campaign. So we're going to go up here to campaigns. And you can see here that this sample that I have used for today's purposes, mystery books newsletter, I just included myself in the audience, but obviously this would have, all your people on your list here. But once you're on this page, you are going to create a campaign, email, and what we can do is, if it's your very first newsletter, we are going to title it Newsletter 1. And what I like to do is for every newsletter that I send out, I just, change the number. That way it's easy for me to keep track of it. So if it's my, 20th newsletter or whatever, it'll be newsletter 20. You could also just do it by date if you like doing it by date, but try and differentiate the names so you can kind of keep track of it and keep tabs on what you're sending out to your mailing list. So let's go ahead and begin. Now this here, once you start building a list, it is automatically going to populate here for the recipients as your audience. Here, since I just set up this sample account for this video, there's no other people on the list to send it to, so that's why right now it's saying add recipients. But in your case, it would allow you to import contacts, or if you already have people signing up through some other avenue, they would be listed here. So then from, you would put your name and your email. You can adjust that here. So I'll put subject. I recommend that you use a subject that does not come across as spammy, because the last thing you want is to send out your newsletter and somebody sees it in their inbox and they look at the subject line and it says something like get free shoes or something weird, and they just automatically delete it. Or maybe the email service they use might flag it as spam and the person you're sending it to might never get it. So try to keep sort of neutral subjects that you send out and make it clear that it's like an author newsletter. So we could, put something like my amazing mystery newsletter, first edition, for your preview text. Save it. Now we're going to design the actual email in the format of your newsletter. Now you can get really deep into the weeds on this, and you can do custom layouts, and you can mess with all the colors and everything, and you can really get super into it. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to design a newsletter off of a template that Mailchimp already offers. Okay, so we're going to go to design email, and we're going to go here where it says themes, and you'll see there's a bunch of different themes that Mailchimp provides you here. Now some of them, when you hover over them, they do allow, some of them do make you upgrade to a different plan to use. So if you really like a specific theme and you need to upgrade to use that, then you may be forced to go ahead and upgrade. But for the purposes of this video, we can just work off of a free template. So let's go ahead and use this one called Art Newsletter. So once you click on the template and you want to work off of it, on the left-hand side of your screen, there's going to be sort of a mini preview of how the newsletter is going to look. And then on the right-hand side, it's like the different blocks that you can edit. So here, if we click and just go down, you can see this is the layout of this particular newsletter that we have chosen. Now, some of this obviously doesn't necessarily fit or apply to, you know, an author. There's like a lot of sort of like images here and, you know, a lot of different photos. So some of these things we can, you know, edit out or delete. Some of them we might want to use, but this is kind of the entry point here. So let's go ahead and start editing this template and make it sort of into a basic newsletter. So what we can do here is up here is sort of our header area, and there's, I guess, a logo and some sort of text. We can put something here as simple as, if you have an author logo, you can do that. If you have like a stock photo that is really good with your book, or it evokes a certain scene from your books, that's something that you can, you know, put in there. So I'm going to delete the text here, and it's going to say, are you sure you want to delete it? You click yes, and where it says image, I'm going to hover here, click image, and you can go to your computer and you can upload images. I already had uploaded these previously, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this picture here. So this is a sample newsletter for a mystery novel. This is sort of like a mysterious stock photo or whatever. We're going to insert that, and as you can see, it updated our header section. Now what we can do is we can edit some of the text here. So let's click there, and then on the right side is our editor. We can go ahead and adjust it, so we can put something like, welcome to my amazing newsletter. We can center it, mess with the font size a little bit. Mess with the actual font, and then click save and close. So far we have our header image here. We have sort of a little welcome to our amazing newsletter, and let's go ahead and here where it says meet a street artist, let's edit this to put newsletter 1. Now obviously you can get as detailed as you want on these newsletters, you can be as basic as you want. The whole point here is to try and have a newsletter and try and consistently send newsletters out to kind of build your fan base and keep your name relevant out there in the marketplace, because, you know, with all the thousands of books that are published every day as authors, we want to kind of keep ourselves relevant in the marketplace, right? So here we could just put newsletter 1. And over here, the pictures, that's probably something that we don't need. So for this example, let's just do away with all the pictures. We'll delete all of them. And let's go ahead and delete the texts here, the text boxes. And what we'll do instead, as you can see, we deleted these 3 content blocks. We can go ahead and add text by dragging this text block over here. And then this could be where you start to do your newsletter. If you have updates on your writing, you can just start So I just typed in some sample here, but obviously you get the point. We can put a little bit about our newsletter. If you want to segment it and you want an update section and you want a freebie section or a giveaway section, you can just add more and more content blocks. So then we can go down here. If you happen to have book covers, this could be a spot where you edit your covers, and you can put book covers here given this template. But let's just, for the sake of this, let's just keep these photos, and then we could put my books, buy now, and then link them to Amazon or wherever your books are distributed. To visit our blog, you could say. And then you can put your, whatever your website is, and then down here for your footer section, automatically Mailchimp is going to put as your address the address that you use to sign up, and that's what we spoke about earlier, about making sure that if you want your privacy intact, that you use either a PO box or you use some sort of virtual address. So just make sure that you do that. So that's what Mailchimp is going to use for your footer section. One thing that I like to add in my newsletters at the bottom is I like to add buttons for social media. So if you go here on the right side where it says social follow, you can drag this right here where the footer is. And as you can see, you have your social media icons. You can add a bunch more. You can put your website, Twitter, you can put Instagram, Pinterest, whatever you want. Go ahead and add those. That way, when somebody on your list goes and opens your newsletter and reads everything, and they want to learn more about you, or they want to keep following you and keeping tabs on you or whatnot, they can click here at the bottom of your footer section. Okay, so this is a sample newsletter here that we created. If we want to preview it in different formats before we save it, if you go all the way up here to the top where it says preview, click it and go to enter preview mode. Now Mailchimp is going to give you a preview for desktop, mobile, and inbox. So this is kind of a good way to check things out before you actually go ahead and send out that newsletter. So here, if you look at it, we have our header, our title, our text block, stuff about our book, footer section with the social media, and then our address. So obviously this is a bare bones example, but there's so much you can do just off of a template, a free template that Mailchimp offers you. Now, if you do want to sort of get more into the weeds about customization, that we click the X here, and for each content block that you click, be it the text or the photo or whatever, you would just go over to style and you can mess with colors and spacing and things like that. But we're not going to get into that for purposes of this email. And then let me just go back to preview mode for a second. So we had looked at how the desktop. Mobile is also very important because now I would say the vast majority of people, they are accessing email through their phone. So it's important to make it look as good as possible for mobile. Make it as optimized as you can for mobile. So if we click here and go down, we kind of see that the header here, or the header text kind of is, it's very, very blocky and a little bit too big. So maybe we go back and we change the font to try to make it a little bit more presentable. But otherwise, the other stuff here looks pretty good for mobile. So that's great. So just keep tabs on that, check that out. Now we close it out, and to save this newsletter, we're going to go to Save and Close, and in the upper right, we're going to continue. And it's going to say something about there's still placeholder content. That's because we haven't edited everything out of the template. We kind of left a lot of stuff, but we're just going to put exit anyway. Just ignore that. If you have edited yours completely and taken out all the placeholder content in the template, then you shouldn't even get that message. So here, as you can see, we're back at our screen at the beginning with newsletter 1. And all we would do here would be, we would add our recipient, and this would be your actual contacts that you have on your mailing list. If you already have a list from somewhere else, you would just import the contacts, or if you already have a sign-up form set up, then they would already be under recipients, so this wouldn't be an issue. So for purposes of this demo here, this video, we're not going to actually send out this email, but this first newsletter, but basically all we would do is we would click send up here in the upper right, and it would send it out. And then once it sends it out, there are going to be links that are given to you, so you can share the links on your social media, your Twitter, your Facebook, and so on and so forth. So as you can see now, everything is blacked out because we don't have any recipients. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click finish later. And now under my campaigns, you can see I have my very first newsletter waiting to be sent out whenever I want. Now, what if you want to send your next newsletter with the same format, the only difference being the text and some of the updates? Well, what you can do is you can replicate the format, and I recommend that you do that. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back and customize everything, and it's going to kind of cut into your time working on the newsletter and your time writing. So here, if we go all the way to the right, click on the arrow, we're going to go to replicate. And it'll say newsletter copy 01. Just go ahead and edit that to whatever your next newsletter happens to be. So for us, it would then be newsletter 2. We save it, and then as you can see, when you go to content, when you go to edit, the format is still there from our very first newsletter. So that's a really convenient way to keep the format if you like a particular template you've been using, or if you've customized something to your liking, to your author brand, and you want to keep using that style. So you can just go ahead and replicate. So let's go back to the main interface. Finish later. And that basically is how you start an author newsletter. So it's not that complicated. It just takes a little bit of kind of playing around on Mailchimp to find what you like and to find the specific, branding and scheme that you think is best for your author brand and for the specific list that you are targeting. But yeah, that's basically how to start an author newsletter on Mailchimp. So if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you made it all the way to the end of this video and you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that and you hit that bell for notifications. It's a way for YouTube to see if my content is resonating with other writers out there. So I'll see all of you in the next video, and as always, keep scribbling.